Well, I never spoke about the war after I came back for, maybe 20 years, maybe, more than 20 years. I wouldn't talk about the war. Anybody asked me any questions, I said, no, I can't talk about it. It was that hard on me. And I can remember every bit about the war. I've no lost memory of where I went until the last day in England, when leaving England to come home on leave. And I can't remember a thing about the time I got on the train and onto the ship and onto the train when I got back home, nothing until I got back into Calgary, where I met my mum. All that was a blank. I can't remember nothing about it. But all the rest of the war, I can remember everything. I was working in a coal mine then, and as soon as I heard what the army, that they were going into Poland then we decided we were going to Edmonton to see if we could join the army. That was before Canada declared war. Canada didn't declare war until the 6th, and we joined on the 3rd. That was me and my uncle. Well, we trained here in Edmonton for, from December up until December on Kingsway. Kingsway was Kingsway Avenue had rails on it, tracks, but there had never been a streetcar on Kingsway, never. And that's where we used for a parade square. Well, we were trained pretty good. I mean, we were out there 8 hours a day training. And there was no fooling around. When they said we were going on a march, well, we went on a march, sometimes 20 miles. My job was, when I joined up, they couldn't get a pair of boots to fit me. So I was put in the kitchen, peeling potatoes. And I think I peeled potatoes for about 2 weeks before they got me a pair. I knew they could have got me a pair of boots, but they needed somebody to peel potatoes, so I was the one that was picked. When we got into England, the only stories we got was through mouth to mouth, because we never had any radios or TVs or nothing like that them days. We just heard where they were going through Poland and they were keeping going, and that was so then the first places we got shipped to was right on the coast, like Oxted, and they kept moving us around. They didn't keep us in one place too long. And then one day the ship starts moving, we're on our way. So we go in a big convoy, and nobody knew where we were going. Nobody knew. I guess the commanders knew, but us soldiers didn't know. So we caught up to the convoy, and we went into Sicily. The ship could only go so far in. Then we got onto barges and went in, and then we hit sandbars. And then so we thought, well, we've got to get out of the barges now and go the rest of the way, which would be, about 50 feet, maybe 50 to 100 feet. But after you got off the sandbar, the ocean was pretty deep. It wasn't just peddling. And so a sailor swam ashore with a rope. So the ones that couldn't swim, we just held onto this rope and got, which I was one of them, that held onto the rope to get onto shore. First night that we were in Sicily, Sicily's a great wine making. So we got into the wine cellars, All our water bottles were filled up with wine, so we all got pretty well lit. So this Captain Gilchrist, decided he was going to take us out and sober us up. So he took us out on a march, and we had donkeys with us. So on our first rest, we all lay down on the ground, and these donkeys started braying. And we were on our feet, and we were sober after that. Yeah, and then he marched us all about 10 miles. And then brought us all back into camp. And then the next day, we were all knew enough to stay away from the wine after that. Second day was a little different. We ran into the Germans then, and there was a big battle then. We lost a lot of men that first day. I'd say we lost at least 10 men on one platoon that was ambushed. They were just out on reconnaissance, and we didn't know the Germans were that close. And then they got this first platoon. We all lived like better than brothers. We're so close. And then when you see one of them getting killed, I remember one day this was in Italy. This fella I was in the trench with, he stood up and he got a bullet right through the forehead. Yeah, one of my buddies. Yeah, his name was Diamond. Well, especially at the end, I felt pretty bad in Italy, and when we got through Ortono, I went to the company commander, and he told me he was sending me back to England. I said, after me losing the whole company of men. And he told me I was getting sent back to England. So I said, why? They said, well, they got orders to send experienced soldiers back to go in with the troops into France on D-Day. So I happened to be one of the ones that was picked to go back. And I went back, and then I joined the Argyll and Southern Highlanders and went on D-Day with them. Well, followed through after D-Day. I went through the second bunch. Everybody's the same, you know. Nobody thinks it's going to be them that's going to get the bullet. Everybody thinks it's going to be the other guy. You don't think you're going to get it. And I mean, that's the way I felt. Maybe some days I would line my men up before we went into battle, and I could look at all their faces, but I could tell which one was going to get it that day, just on the look on his face, you know. And I didn't know if he was going to get killed or wounded or what he was going to get, but he had a different look on his face that day. Yeah, so I don't know what I could tell anybody. I never said nothing to them when I saw that look on their face, you know. That I couldn't tell them that they were going to get wounded that day, but that's the way it was. Well, this is later on. I had a Corporal Brown was his name. He was in my platoon, and we were all scattered around, all lined up fighting against the Germans. That was a big battle that day. And the stretcher bearers brought Corporal Brown to me, and his head was facing up and his body was facing down. And he was still alive, and they had riddled him right across, just about cut him wide open right across, and his body was facing down and his head was facing up. That was the worst scene I had ever seen. And the man talking to me, Brown was talking to me. He just more or less he says goodbye, and just that was about all he did say, goodbye. And I think he died right after that, and the stretcher bearers took him out. That was the worst part, yeah, seeing my men getting killed like that, and me not there to help them. You know, when you take in charge of a bunch of men, like I've been sleeping with these guys and partying with them and living right beside them for 5 years. And that's how it ends up. You know, we're closer than brothers, and, you know, we're all so close to one another. Knew what everyone was like and everything. And then when you see something like that happen, you couldn't imagine how it makes you feel. Yeah. So then that was the end of the Battle of Ortonio, and then in about a couple of weeks' time we had a rest. Then after what we went through to give us we were resting in Ortonio, we got a new reinforcements in to build up our company again. And then the company commander called me in one day and he says, "How would you like to go back to England?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm staying with B Company." He said, "No." She said, "No, you're not." He said, "You're going back to England as an experienced soldier, and you're going into France." I was a sergeant major then, and I helped set up B Company with the new reinforcements coming in, and then I was sent back. I should have told you about, we had Christmas in Ortonio, and I was walking back and forth the line, you know, making sure everybody was getting fed, and ran into this one guy. I looked at him, and it didn't look right. It was a German. And he still had his gun on his shoulder, strapped on his shoulder. So I took his gun away and let him go through, have this Christmas dinner. Went a little further, here's two more. They had come out of the basements. They had been hiding in the basements during the battle. They had been hiding in the basement during the battle, but when they smelled the dinner going on, out they came to have dinner. So I just took their rifles away and took them prisoners after. Yeah.
All right, I just need to change the battery. Why don't we wrap it at that?
Yeah, okay, doc. That's good.
You've given enough today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.